I'm Charlotte Forrester, the creator of The Evil Things Red Assembly, and this is the True North Country Comics podcast.
Welcome to the True North Country Comics podcast, dedicated to promote Canadian comic book and graphic novel creators and supporters. I'm John Swinimer. On this episode, I chat with Charlotte Forrester about her various art projects, including her comic book, The Evil Things Red Assembly. Please like and subscribe to this website by hitting the subscribe button so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Originally from the United Kingdom, Charlotte Forrester is now based in Toronto, Ontario. Her artwork includes illustrations, pop culture with a twist, paintings, and comics. Charlotte appreciates the community of creators in the Toronto area, having participated in Fan Expo's Artist Alley several times. Her most current project is The Evil Things Red Assembly. The Evil Things Red Assembly is described as a 1930s murder mystery where you will delve into the interwar period of extremist politics and social upheaval under the looming shadow of war with Germany. The story goes like this. It's 1936 in Oxford, England, and a body is found following a tumultuous meeting led by infamous fascist politician Oswald Mosley. Who has been murdered and why? So without further ado, here's my chat with Charlotte Forrester about her various art projects, including her comic book, The Evil Things Red Assembly. So Charlotte Forrester, thank you very much for taking time to chat with me.
Absolute pleasure, John. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I appreciate your time. Before we get going with all the questions, I would like to know, though, what was the first comic book that you read?
Okay, blimey. First comic book. I think that I would probably have to say that it was a collection of a comic strip, if that counts.
Absolutely.
Which was a comic strip called The Gambles. It appeared in a British newspaper. I think it began in the 1950s. And it just satirized a married couple, George and Gay Gamble. And my grandma used to buy the annuals, the collections, and give them to my mum for Christmas, and then I would just devour them. That was probably the first sort of sequential art that I came across.
That's pretty cool. I haven't heard of that one. That's a nice one for sure. So with that in mind, I'm wondering who or what inspires you to create today?
I think that's probably Agatha Christie. A very specific person there. Mainly because the thing that I create the most is The Evil Things, which is my comic. It's a murder mystery, and Agatha Christie is the mother of golden age detective fiction. But also history in general. I'm very inspired by history. Even in my illustrations, a lot of the time I'll take characters from pop culture and put them into different historical situations. So I'm actually more inspired by authors, I suppose, and history, reality, our actual world.
Okay. To be quite honest, I don't know anything about your background. So I'm wondering if you could just walk me through a wee bit, maybe even talk through if you've had any formal artistic training.
It depends what you consider to be formal. I did take art classes up until the age of 18 at school in the UK. But after that, nothing. How I got into art, visual art, would be, I think it was in the end of 2018. I think I just started painting. I had insomnia one night. I couldn't sleep, and so I started sketching. And the next day I went to the art shop and bought paints and a paintbrush and didn't put them down for about 2 or 3 years. So that's how I first got into the visual art side of things. I was painting portraits and figures that I would send off to galleries to display. And then it gradually went into digital art and then into the comic art and illustrations.
So you got hooked and you haven't stopped since, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, well, you mentioned your book that we're talking about. It's called Evil Things Red Assembly. If you could talk a little bit more about the story, what it's all about.
Sure. So actually writing was my first love. Writing when I was about 9 years old was when I first started writing stories. And The Evil Things began as a full-length murder mystery novel that I had written. It was set in the week leading up to the outbreak of World War II in the UK. And just completely separately, I had also written a sci-fi comic script. I hired a comic artist to draw, and he had seen my paintings on Instagram and said, "Hey, well, why don't you try drawing something yourself?" And so I just gave it a bash. I tried to draw The Evil Things as a graphic novel, really enjoyed it, and so I started writing it as a comic and started to draw it. And I realized, okay, I can't go steaming ahead with a full-length graphic novel when I've only just started, which is how The Evil Things Red Assembly came about. So it's a prequel to my main storyline. It's a murder mystery, explains how my amateur detective gets started investigating crimes. And she's also a nurse. It explains how she becomes a nurse set during her nursing training.
Maybe you could tell me a little bit more about the story, maybe more in depth of where it takes place and what's going on.
So in The Evil Things Red Assembly, it's set in Oxford, UK in 1936. Our main character, Genevieve, is going through her nursing training, and there is a murder that takes place, and she finds herself caught up in it. She's an amateur detective, and obviously I do have the police investigating the murder as well. So this is the interwar period. So it was a fairly rough time to be living if you weren't a very rich person. There was the aftermath of the Depression, and then also tensions. People were expecting to go to war with Germany. There was all kinds of extremist politics. So that does appear in the story as well.
Ah, very interesting. Okay, and as you sort of hinted, it's part of a larger story. I've heard some creators say it's easier to tackle a story in small chunks rather than go into long, huge epics. Is that what you're finding?
Yeah, I think so. And I've learned a lot from just writing this one, because this one is just 4 chapters. It's not a full length novel. And I've learned so much from this that my main storyline is definitely going to be improved upon after this.
Ah, okay. And did I see correctly that there's 2 chapters right now, 2
That's
books
right.
printed?
Yeah, I
Ah,
have I
okay.
have 2 chapters out at the moment. It's set in 1936 in Oxford in the UK, and it's 2 chapters out, 2 on the way, hoping to get it finished by next year.
Okay, that was going to be my question about
Yeah.
future plans. So it sounds like you've got something underway. You did mention a science fiction book there, though. Will that ever see the light of day, or has it?
I think if I can ever find the time to go back to it, I would love to. It was a time travel story. I really enjoyed it. But The Evil Things is my passion at the moment, and I really want to get started on the main storyline now.
So once you're done with these chapters, then you're fully on board and it'll continue on and until it's done, I guess, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the
Ah,
plan.
okay, very good. Now, beyond this, I'm sure you like when I went by your table at Toronto Comic Con, you had illustrations and stuff. I
hmm
presume that you're doing other projects on the side, artistic projects?
When it comes to projects, it's just the illustrations that I create are just things that I enjoy. They just pop into my head and I draw them out. I do take some commissions as well, but I don't have any other full projects. I'm very much a fly by the seat of my pants kind of person. Whatever interests me, then I'll go and do that.
When I was asking you about your background, you said you had started drawing and then you moved into the digital space. Are you a
hmm
digital artist now completely?
I am, yeah. I decided to focus purely on the digital art at the moment. I would like to go back to traditional art because I did very much enjoy it. It's sort of meditative in the process of creating traditional art. So I would like to get back into painting. But as I say, the Evil Things takes up all of my free time at the moment.
And can I ask what tool you're specifically using for your digital art?
Sure, I use a Huon tablet.
Yes. Yeah, I met with those folks at CES in Las Vegas. They're always coming up
Oh,
with
really?
new devices. And the software they're using, what is the software application?
I use Clip Studio.
Ah, yes, that's very popular. So when I talk to artists and they're in this digital space, it's primarily because of speed more than anything else, and the fact that you can have unlimited undos, I guess,
Oh,
right?
yeah. hmm I like the undo button. Sometimes I do sketch with a pencil now and again if I just feel like a break from the screen, and I even find myself clicking to try and undo. Like, oh no, have to get an eraser.
Or use whiteout or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
I also enjoy the layers, the fact that you can just add a layer, improve, add a layer, improve.
That's a real benefit for sure.
hmm
Now, I mentioned that we met up at the Toronto Comic Con, and I want to ask you, how was that show for you?
Oh, it was brilliant. Yeah, and it was a huge improvement on last year. I really enjoy those shows. Going to the Comic Cons, I just get swept up in everyone's passion because everyone's there for the same reason. They all have passions, and we go there to celebrate them and enjoy them. And so I get to sit behind my desk and just revel in the atmosphere and do a little bit of people watching and just see everyone really happy. It really
That's
lifts my
good.
spirits.
Yeah, you've actually written some blogs about being an artist alley, I think, from past events, and you were always buoyed, I guess you could say, by the fact that you do have creative people around you. What are your
Mhm.
thoughts in general about this? You mentioned it, but would you prefer doing that rather than sit in like the professional space and with these long tables?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because I definitely do enjoy being in the thick of it, surrounded by my peers. And sometimes I look out at the professionals and they're sort of separated off from everyone else. But I'm assuming, there's community wherever you go. And if you look for it, you can find it.
That's very true, especially in Toronto. I've always been told that
Oh yeah.
when I talk to creators, they say that even when I was talking to folks from the States, when they come up here, they're always amazed by the creative talent that's in Toronto and the
Mhm.
camaraderie that we have. So it's well recognized, that's for sure. So we've been talking about Toronto Comic Con. I wonder if do you have any other events on your schedule for this year?
For this year, at the moment, it's just the Fan Expo in August. So you can usually find me at the Toronto adjacent Comic Cons.
Do you plan to visit any other events this year, just on your own, just browsing?
Probably the Comic Arts Festival. I went there once, really enjoyed it. Enjoyed seeing all of the creations from fellow comic artists. I don't have the nerve to actually apply myself yet, but maybe
Well,
one day.
one day
Yeah.
for sure. They're always looking for new folks. With everything that you have on the go today and in the future, where do you recommend that people go online to find out more about you?
I'm mainly on Instagram. That's at Checkpoint Charles. And then I do also have a website, charlotteforrester.com.
Very good. Well, Charlotte, those are all the questions I have for you, but I'm wondering, is there something I didn't ask that you'd like to get across in this interview?
Mainly, I'd just like to encourage people to support the arts, support artists in your family, your friends, the local community, as well as at a wider level. And then also create yourselves as well. It's a core human behavior. You can find a lot of joy in it.
Thanks to Charlotte for the chat. You can discover more about Charlotte at charlotteforrester.com and on Instagram at instagram.com/checkpointcharles and on Blue Sky. Thank you for tuning in to the True North Country Comics podcast. I invite you to visit the True North Country Comics website to listen to even more discussions with creators and their insight on making comic books and graphic novels. I also encourage you to subscribe via the website so you'll be notified about new podcast interviews and article posts. This podcast is available wherever podcasts are enjoyed. Please like, follow, and subscribe. You can follow along True North Country Comics on most social media sites, and you're encouraged to send any and all feedback to John at truenorthcountrycomics.com. Thanks for tuning in, and come back soon for another episode. Bye for now. True North Country Comics Podcast is copyright True North Country Comics, copyright 2025.